The following PowerPoint presentation is to accompany Personality, Chapter 12, Stress, Adjustment, and Health Differences. More difficult than observing how and why personality is related to illness and health is explaining it using modern scientific understanding. Health behaviors. The first major link between personality and health involves health behaviors, what people do. People with certain personalities take greater risks with their health and thus die sooner. However, this connection is not as simple as it sounds. One very important way that personality affects health is through behaviors that lead to more or less healthy habits and environments. It is well established that smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol are related to a number of personality characteristics, such as rebelliousness, aggressiveness, alienation, low self-esteem, and impulsivity. Often, it is personality and social problems in childhood that lead to drinking in adolescence, smoking, and other drug abuse. These unhealthy behaviors, in turn, significantly increase the risk of health problems and premature death. Why are these particular personality characteristics associated with these unhealthy behaviors? Well, people with problems in emotional regulation may seek the stimulating or tranquilizing effects of cigarettes, alcohol, illicit drugs, and even junk food in an attempt to change their physiologically based moods. Certain social factors tend to encourage unhealthy behavior also. Furthermore, many unhealthy behaviors that place people at high risk for medical problems are instigated by stress, which is likely to be a special problem for emotionally unstable people. Risk-taking, thrill-seeking, and sensation-seeking are known to be relatively stable personality characteristics. In short, the evidence is that one key type of link between personality and health involves health behaviors. Certain types of people, because of their biology and socialization, are more likely to engage in risky behaviors, ranging from cigarette smoking to jumping out of airplanes. These people are prone to disease and premature mortality because of their personality-influenced behavior. The sick role. The sick role is a set of societal expectations about how a person should behave when ill. Sometimes people take on the sick role even though there is no organic, that is medical, condition that can account for their activities. It is not only the classic hypochondriac who is ill because of personality more than disease. Rather, many neurotic people retreat to the safety of the sick role when they encounter challenges in their lives. Also, note that in our society, it is considerably easier and more socially acceptable for a person to seek medical care from a doctor and to adopt the sick role than it is to seek psychological help for an emotional problem. Escaping from stressful situations by becoming sick is rewarding. You may receive sick pay, days off, sympathy from friends, care from relatives, and so on. In short, people with neurotic personalities or low self-esteem may become ill because of the social and cognitive aspects of society's sick role. Different things are stressful for different people. A man's own observation of what he finds good and what he finds hurtful is the basic physic to preserve health. A mismatch between a person and his or her society can be a main source of stress and an important factor in illness. The Diathos stress model of illness has much in common with the idea of personality interacting with the situation. This model of disease suggests that although a predisposition to illness exists because of genetics or upbringing, the illness itself will not appear unless or until it is elicited by the environment. Stress. The most potent stress relates to the recall of emotionally charged experiences, and such psychological stress is uniquely individual. A three-part model to account for variability in sudden cardiac death after encountering stress includes some electrical instability must already be present in the heart muscle. This is often the result of partially blocked arteries. The person must be feeling a pervasive emotional state, such as depression, and there must be a triggering event, such as the loss of a job or the death of a loved one, with which the person cannot cope. And we should not expect straightforward and direct links between personality and health. Research on cancer. Innovative studies, such as that of Western Electric and the Johns Hopkins studies, do not allow a simple inference that personality causes cancer. The associations are quite weak. Many people with emotional disturbances do not get cancer, and many people with cancer do not have unusual personalities. Personality is associated with a multitude of behavior patterns, bodily reaction patterns, and social circumstances, any of which may be routes by which cancer is more likely to take hold and progress. Recent developments on stress, adjustment, and health. Individuals who are well adjusted and are well integrated into their communities are at significantly lower risk of disease and premature mortality than those who are regularly more unstable, impulsive, isolated, alienated, and distressed. The Type A behavior pattern. Type A behavior, or Type A personality, is a tense, competitive style that is especially likely to be associated with coronary heart disease. Type A people who are in a constant struggle to do more and more, work in less and less time, would unleash their nervous systems in ways that would damage their hearts through excessive arousal of the sympathetic nervous system. Type A's were said to be hasty, impatient, impulsive, hyper-alert, potentially hostile, and very tense. A volatile package sometimes summarized as a workaholic personality. There is now strong evidence that people who lead confrontational, competitive, and driven lives are more likely to suffer heart disease than are people with a more easygoing, laid-back lifestyle. But it is not hard work, activity, or a challenging job that is the key problem. Rather, it is the struggle that is the problem. There is not a shred of evidence that regular hard work increases the likelihood of heart disease in healthy people. Everyone likes to achieve a sense of mastery or competence. But people prone to cardiovascular problems and other disease are especially driven to excessive achievement and to total mastery of their worlds. It is only when control is excessive that there is a problem. High levels of neuroticism and low levels of agreeableness, being chronically depressed, anxious, and angry, predicts heightened risks of coronary disease. Giving up, the theory of learned helplessness, is that a person will not make any efforts at controlling his or her surroundings, even when subsequently placed in a controllable environment. Hard work is not unhealthy, but excessive hostility or excessive depression can be very bad for physical as well as mental health. The human termites. In 1921, Terman began one of the most comprehensive studies in psychology to investigate his genetic theories of intelligence. These clever participants nicknamed themselves Terman's termites. Howard Friedman and his collaborators constructed 6 personality dimensions from Terman's scales and used them to predict longevity and cause of death throughout their lives, using statistical techniques called survival analysis, which computes the fraction of a population that will survive past a certain time. Conscientiousness. Children, especially boys, who are rated as prudent, conscientious, truthful, and free from vanity, live significantly longer throughout their lifespan. They are about 30% less likely to die in any given year. Analyses suggest that the protective effect of conscientiousness is partially, but not primarily, due to a reduction in the risk of injury. There is some tendency for the unconscientious to be more likely to die a violent death. Conscientiousness is also protective against early death from cardiovascular disease and cancer. Sociability. No evidence that the personality trait of sociability is strongly related to health and longevity. The locus of health-relevant effects seems to be centered in such traits as impulsivity, egocentrism, and undependability. Childhood ratings on such variables as popularity and preference for playing with other people did not predict longevity, and it may be in part because extroverts are generally at greater risk for smoking and alcohol abuse. Health associations with extroversion are best understood in particular contexts. Cheerfulness. Contrary to expectation, childhood cheerfulness is inversely related to longevity. The cheerful kid grew up to be adults who died somewhat sooner. It may be the case that cheerfulness is helpful when facing a stress such as surgery, but harmful if it leads one to be careless or carefree throughout one's life. People who behave in an amusing way are not necessarily those whose attitudes and behaviors are most healthy, but an optimistic person facing health challenges may be more willing to cooperate fully with treatment, prescriptions, and regimes. Mental health. All in all, undependability, impulsivity, and family instability, parental and one's own divorce, are predictive of premature mortality. It may be the case that such psychosocial factors affect a whole host of health behaviors: drinking and smoking, exercise patterns, diet, use of prophylactics, adherence to medical regimes, avoidance of environmental toxins, and more, which, when put together, may explain a lot of associations between psychology and longevity. The self-healing personality. People who are constructively challenged find it easier to remain healthy. Personality researchers studying health have drawn much inspiration from the humanistic and existential approaches, which do indeed consider positive aspects. Control, commitment, and challenge. Feeling of control was a significant factor in terms of health. Those who remained healthier did not feel powerless in the face of external challenges, but instead had a sense of power. They appeared polite and eager to please, despite feeling increasing pressures of job responsibility. Commitment. Their commitment to something they felt was important and meaningful. They enjoyed learning from this work, felt its social importance, and welcomed changes in the company as interesting and worthwhile. And they welcomed change and innovation while remaining true to the fundamental life goals that they had already established. They view every problem as an opportunity to improve on the status quo. It is useful to think about two major types of self-healing personalities. The first is the more active, zealous type. This includes the busy but confident lawyer and the hard-working, productive executive. These people seek out stimulation, are highly extroverted, and tend to be spontaneous and fun-loving. The second type of self-healing personality is the calmer, more relaxed type. They're active, alert, involved, and responsive, but calm, philosophical, and bemused. Although these people also enjoy the presence of others, they tend to prefer the company of a few close friends. These two types of healthy people have different optimal levels of stress. For the second, more reserved and content type of person, it is better to have conflicts resolved and stimulation under control. For the first, more excitement-seeking type of personality, a higher level of challenge is healthier. Unsolved dilemmas are not a bother for this person. Here again, we see that blanket health recommendations for the whole population can lead to serious problems. The individual must be considered.